We really need Berserkers in this meta. With armies like Grey Knights, Black Templars, Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, Death Guard, and even GSC or Orcs, you need the Berserkers. Is it 20-man squads you need? Is it 10-man squads and Rhinos? Today, we're going to talk about exactly that on Ops, episode 49. Stay tuned and locked in. We're going to talk about World Eaters. All right, to start off, why is the red tide on the rise? So Berserkers are really good in this meta. It's no surprise. If you've ever got hit by one unit of Berserkers or ever used a unit of Berserkers, you know, very, very, very strong unit. Can most likely take out a knight, right? That's exactly what we're going to talk about here very shortly, especially if you have all your blessings and Karn in that unit. So don't forget that Karn and a couple of Eviscerators will dunk on a knight, especially if you have reroll ones to hit and reroll ones to wound, sustained one, and lethals from the blessings. Helps you deal with infantry really well as well. We fight better than everyone, probably. Black Templar is probably the contentious debate, right? That's debatable. If we fight better than Black Templar because they are Space Marines, full rerolls. They actually have the ability to get Oath and things like that in Gladius. And Gladius being one, if not the best detachment in the game, is pretty bananas. So it's a toss-up. And also, Advance in Charge and Berserker Warband is really good. It works out of the Rhino as well. Remember that the wording on it says after you've advanced or your advanced roll. So you can actually hop out of it, do your advanced roll, and advance in charge, which gives you a 17-inch threat projection range. We'll talk about threat projection range a little bit later. All right, why we continue to rise for the red tide. World Eaters are mostly above average speed and hitting compared to other armies. Usually in close combat, we are usually the strongest armies going out there. Like I was telling you, maybe Black Templar might be one of our challenges or our nemesis. We don't know yet until we get some more data, but they are looking very strong. Berserkers are just Berserker combat is just very underrated. There's so much that their combat can do, the flexibility, the blood surge, everything that comes with them, right? Just makes them a very efficient unit. No, they're not super resilient, but they're efficient in their offensive game. 40 chainsword attacks and 8 Viscerator attacks on the charge and Berserker Warband is very strong. So on average, with Karn, the unit does 18 damage with no abilities, right? So things like Sus 1 and Lethals. On average, you're going to do about 18 damage onto that Knight unit, not including adding whatever else is left into that unit. So definitely can, just dunk on the Knight. Also, while staging and positioning your army, you have a high threat projection. Now, if you're in your Rhino, you have a reactive move that if anything gets within 9 inches, you can hop out with Berserkers. If they're silly enough to shoot those Berserkers on top of that, you can Blood Surge. Straight 8 inches or D6 plus 2. Anybody in their right mind is going to pick that stratagem where you can go just straight 8 inches. That way you have a threat range of 12 inches hopping out of the Rhino because you're going to have to come out 3 inches wholly, and then the 8 inches for the hop out itself. So, and then the last inch being I can touch a unit and be in engagement range. It's an 11-inch movement, but it's a 12-inch threat range, right? Because I can get in an engagement range within 1 inch. So very strong. Berserkers continue to be very strong. 18 points per model. It's apples and oranges when you start comparing it to different armies. Plague Marines are actually 1 point more. So you could maybe say I'd rather go out for 1 point if I had all the rules like Death Guard have, but that's pretty much debatable. They are what they are for the time being, and I don't think they're ever going to drop in points cost. Also, did everyone see that World Eaters leak, right? So this is the one, it's been leaked out on Reddit, different channels and things like that. But for the World Eaters, they're talking about Karn potentially going up 15 points. Angron dropping down 25 points, which really doesn't make a big difference going from 385 to 360. Karn is going to go up 15 points, or he's going to go up to 100 points, which I think is warranted. He's very strong, and a character model that revives on a 2+, which is almost guaranteed, with more than half of his wounds returning, right? It's really strong, especially being able to do that at the end of the phase, hop back up, charge, things like that. So Angron, once again, going down 25 points. I think he needed really to go down to, at a minimum, 340, man. Seriously, 340. He should drop 45 points. 45 points, not 25 points. Spawn going up 10 points. Everybody knew that. They're the most efficient, probably best unit in the World Eaters army. Super cheap at 80 points, or going up to 90 points is probably warranted. 8-bound coming down 15 points. It's a world. I don't know if that's really worth it. Having 8-bound at, less than 120 points per unit. Exalted 8-bound going 20 points to 140 points per unit. So both of them, I know you're still not going to take an Exalted 8-bound on 140 points. You might see a world at 280. You're going to take a 6-man just to maybe deal with Knights. If Mauler Fiends start going up, Forge Fiends keep on going up, and things like that, right? We might have to start taking Exalted 8-bound to deal with those Knights and monsters. Other than that, you're probably never going to see Exalted 8-bound on the table. 8-bound going down 15 points. Hopefully we live in a world that 8-bound are going to come back, be relative again, and actually do something on the tabletop. And Forge Fiends going up 20 points for each model. We already saw this coming. 170 points for each Forge Fiend is probably not a bad deal. I actually thought it was going to go up 40 points. So, and what I projected it to come out to be, I guess it looks good, but still 20 points is a little high for something that that's the only thing we have in our army that really shoots well, right? That and a Predator. But who's going to take a Predator over a Forge Fiend? And then not really have much for shooting, right? So they're going to increase that. Gets a little weird, especially when you start seeing the nerfs they did to, or the side grades. I'll take that back. The side grades that they did to CK, IK, and Death Guard, to going up 20 points, probably warranted. I don't know. I have mixed emotions about it, but it could be amazing. All right, headed to the first army list that I wanted to show everyone. So this is the first one. This is very heavy in both directions, okay? And what does that mean? I made sure that I had a very fat, large unit that can deal with any type of infantry units, Black Templars, GSC, whatever it might be, a 20-man blob of beast snaggers from orcs, right? Running around with Karn and 20 Berzerkers and 2 Mauler Fiends to deal with the monsters and Knights is list building to the extremes to make sure that I can deal with those threats on the tabletop, right? Because as a World Eaters player, you really need to mitigate not only your movement and positioning, but also your threat priorities, what you need to deal with throughout the game, all right? Now, I tell people this all the time. Try not to get into army list building paralysis. This seems a little bit easier to put into a peg, right? Square peg into a square hole. You look at this list and you say, well, it has a lot of extremes in 2 directions, not much in the middle for cream filling, right? You only have 2 Forge Fiends, 1 Jackal, 3 Spawn, and 10 Zerkers after the 20-man and the Mauler Fiends. So, and the Demon Prince, of course. But is that enough? Is that enough hard-hitting units? Do you maybe need an 8-bound in there to really have that higher strength? Maybe that +1 to hit on 2s? Probably not. Try out this list. Let me know how it does for you. I know this actually did well. I want to say this list very similar to a list that ended up winning a GT. I've tried this list out as well. I liked it most of the time. I really love the 20 man. That 20 man with Karn will destroy anything in the game, 100%, especially if you have sustained one and lethals up. It will dunk on anything in the game. It really will. Any knights, Canis, things like that. I ended up jumping into a rampager, and this unit ended up killing two rampagers, like 2 big knights and 3 baby knights. So really efficient unit. Mauler Fiends are really good too with dealing with knights and demon princes and monsters and things like that. They're high amount of attacks at 9 attacks each, and if you chip a damage on a model or a unit, then you get to hit on 2s. Strength 16 on the charge, -2 d6 plus 1 damage. I'm not big on the -1/2 damage APs. Once you start hitting like Mega Knobs and Terminators, you're always going to be on 4-ups, especially the Terminators, because they're always going to get that 4-up invul. But then Mega Knobs, it feels kind of crappy when you're only allowing them to take a 4-up. So basically give them a 4+ invul save. Sometimes maybe you might want to proc that stratagem to give them +1 AP. Probably not worth it just for a Mauler Fiend, but it is a thought. So Mauler Fiends are quite amazing, especially going into knights. Each one of them, if you hit one knight with both of them, that knight is going away guaranteed. So basically you hit a unit with the 20 Zerkers and Karn, hit another knight with 2 Mauler Fiends, maybe do chip damage from the Forge Fiends and the other Mo and 10 Berserkers into the 3rd knight, and then you have 3 knights down whatever turn that is. And then going on to the very last list, actually, this is something that I'm currently running. This is a very balanced list, I like to call it, not to any extremes. That's why it's called Yin and Tang instead of Yin and Yang. I like the Tang better because it has a lot of pop to it with the Berserkers. So it's Yin and Tang is the name of the list. So obviously you have the Demon Prince with the Helm of Brazen Iron. You have Karn the Betrayer, of course, is going to run with the 10-man Berserker squad. You have the Mo with the Zerker Glaive that's going to run with the other 10-man Berserker squad and the Rhino. So both in Rhinos. Slaughterbound, favorite of Korn. Obviously, you're always going to be on the tabletop, scouting, attaching yourself to 8-bound units or running around if there's a lot of MSU. Now, I've seen myself as of recently not attaching him to certain units if there's a lot of MSU. Things like Blood Angels, Orcs, armies like that have like a lot of MSU, JPI units like that. He'll dunk on one of those units, right? He'll just take 5 of those JPI, kill them, and get rid of them, so those units don't end up harassing. So usually what I do, depending on the game that I'm playing or the person that I'm playing against and the faction and all the things, all the abilities you're going to worry about. So it's very subjective in what I'm doing in all those games. And then we also have 2 units of 8-bound. Like I said, I don't know if I attach them or not. It's predicated on the game. But usually I will take the Slaughterbound into one of those units so he can revive that unit and get those extra attacks and just overkill whatever I need to hit on the tabletop. 2 Rhinos, as we already spoke about. Chaos Spawn, got 2 units of these. Hopefully we get a side grade as well, just like all of the other armies that should have got nerfed. So if those leaks are true, hopefully that is a side grade for us. Doesn't look like it because most of those nerfs came on to units that I'm currently using. So I might lose more than I gain. We should all see. So hopefully I stay with 2 Chaos Spawn. Then I have 2 Forge Fiend units, 1 Jackal unit, and 1 Mauler Fiend. Very balanced. Like I said before, right? Army list paralysis. Is 1 Mauler Fiend enough? I always look at it and I say, is 1 Mauler Fiend enough? And is the Demon Prince enough to be in this list? Should I swap them out for Angron? Right? Angron does a way better job of dealing with big knights, big monsters, people who are bringing 9 greater demons. I've ran into that several times. Angron would take care of all of that stuff very, very well. The Demon Prince and Mauler Fiends, not so well. Not so well. But also, in retrospect, if you're taking Angron in this list, then you're not going to deal with dog spam, 14 war dogs, or 14 carnivores, or whatever it might be, 14 dogs spamming it. You're not going to deal with that very well when it comes to Angron. You might want a Demon Prince and a Mauler Fiend, which is better, right? Then you have multiple units. You have yourself MSU units to deal with those units, and instead of having Angron at 385.6. So those are the lists. Hopefully you enjoyed them. Get to test them out yourself. Let me know how well you do. And continue to enjoy playing your World Eaters. Thank you so much to everyone who participated and stayed to the very end. As always, please give us a little bit of love. This is the only way that we're going to continue to give you content. And I'm going to need a little bit of love right now. Anyways, if you haven't noticed, there hasn't been a lot of content on the channel. There's been personal things that I've been going through. So your likes and shares and things like that will immensely help put me in better spirits. And I'm always appreciative of that. Let me know if you would like to see any particular content, and I want to continue to make this great content. Make sure to go check out Rapid Fire Tactics, our live shows on Tuesdays, and as always, our YouTube shorts where we're doing the legend lore. We're talking about all the factions in the game, not just World Eaters, not just Orcs, not just Harlequins, whatever you might be playing as well. Thank you once again, and make sure to subscribe and like. And don't forget, Onslaught Gaming 40K, where victory is just a strategy away. And most importantly, we're back to it, baby. Burn, maim, kill, blood for the blood god. Ah!